Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of Flip That Zoo. This is Newbie Girl, and we are jumping into these habitats that we cleared out from last time. And I really wanted to start prepping for the Wetlands Pack, and this was recorded literally 2 days before the Wetlands Pack came out. And it was actually, it wasn't really recorded, it was actually live streamed on Twitch. So you can actually see it play for play on Twitch if you want to, if some of this is a little bit too fast forwarded for some of you. But needless to say, pretty much all these next 4 habitats are all going to be broken down Twitch streams, which I think I did a pretty darn good job of taking them apart and making sure I was, avoiding emote flying and stuff like that. So this is the first pass that I made because I wanted it to be a multi-level basically like foraging pool and like a little pool cleansing area for the flamingos, as well as like a little cave they have. And I also do like a breakdown of how to create a kind of like a, I don't know if I want to call it a dome, but it's kind of like a tent hut thingy. You'll see what I made when we get there. It's made out of glass and some plaster. I think I just saw an emote fly by. Sorry about that. So rock work can be pretty complicated, but also pretty easy at the same time. Once you get some basic pieces, you can kind of copy paste a lot of them, and then you just kind of got to adjust, twist, move around, tuck and pull as you go, so they don't look identical or exactly the same. And I wanted all of these habitats that I'm going to be doing, you'll notice kind of a running theme. It's going to be very rocky, and then with some sweeping vistas is kind of the vision that I had. So we're starting with flamingos, which is already in the game currently before Wetlands came out. And it was kind of like my prepping surface to make sure I was ready for the Wetlands DLC to come out, because I wanted to kind of have like a jumping point of how I wanted these habitats to look and feel. This habitat does get polished off in this video, but of course there's also little changes that have been made along the way. And I did mention previously that we wanted to start having like some vendors and such in the park. And what I've been doing kind of behind the scenes is I've been adding a few vendors here and there, and a few staff buildings here and there that I haven't really showcased on YouTube yet. I think what I'll do is maybe after I finish these wetlands habitats, I will go through and just kind of do a quick peek on the additions that I made. Now, I'm building kind of a staff area here based off of this water and this electric, which I know sounds a little strange, but I needed those there to power certain other things that are over there on the left. You can't quite see in the distance, but it's for like the mandrills and for one of the specific signs from the bug habitat that couldn't be reached from this staff building that I built. And I kind of had to do like a special treatment situation. And I was like, you know what, since I'm putting 4 habitats here, it'd be really nice to have like a little staff and a keeper area anyway. So I went ahead and laid out a nice keeper hut and a nice staff area, so that everybody going to these little wetlands habitats will have a place to take care of their animals without having to run a million years to go to a keeper hut and a staff hut. It's not a complex, staff area. It doesn't have all of the staff buildings, but it has the ones necessary for habitats. So when you create zones that take care of certain habitats or certain areas, just make sure to include, if you designate employees to these zones, be sure to include all of the staff that you're going to need, such as a quarantine and a vet building, just to be sure that you don't basically limit your employees to not being able to go to buildings they might need to reach. That, or have a vet and a caretaker that is not necessarily part of that zone, but is like a free wanderer, and they can also help take care of that habitat. So it kind of depends on how you want to do the zone work on that. I don't talk about zone work a whole bunch when I do these habitats, and I often kind of delete that footage of me laying out zones, but each one of my habitats and staffing areas all are zoned out. And I try to keep it very organized with everything with names, and I plan the staffing accordingly so that the employees aren't having to run too far. Because when they have to run too far, you start having problems. You start having exhausted staff. You start having cranky staff because they don't like having to go too far. And you also start having underfed or under watched or cared for animals because it just takes too long to get to the habitats. So if you build a large staff area like this, you can usually have a handful of keepers that can help take care of each of these habitats. I mean, honestly, one keeper can take care of 2 or 3 habitats, but if you start having a decent flow of cash and everything's going really well, I always recommend having at least 2 or 3. That way they can take breaks, they don't get exhausted, and they can take turns taking care of different habitats. And they just become happier employees, and you'll notice your numbers going up, your star ratings going up and stuff, and your employee happiness going up. Also, don't forget to train your staff. I know that's something I don't really talk about, but training your staff is important. So I'm hoping you guys are liking the rock work. This is, I think, the first time I've done really intense rock work in this zoo. I've done some sculpting, and I've done obviously some building and some custom fencing, but I hadn't really done rock work. Now this is where I show you how to create this dome. Now if you watch my stream, you'll actually see that I'm being taught by somebody else while doing this, because I've always done it kind of freehand, but I've never done it locked to a grid before. And one of my wonderful friends, her name is Mathlete, she is also a streamer and she's a YouTuber, and she came in and she was like, oh, let me show you how to do this on a grid. And I was like, what? Oh my god, my mind is blown. So I mean, it might be something easy for you, but it wasn't something that was easy for me. So if you go back and you watch my stream, it actually, like, the step-by-step tutorial on how to do all of this, which is a lot more complex than what you're seeing me do. Or if you just slow this down a little bit, you could probably kind of see what I'm doing. But it's really, really cool. I was very grateful for Mathlete, who came in and saved my bacon and really helped me out. Now this, I didn't measure the pathing. So I made way too small of a dome this time around, and when I say dome, it's kind of like a dome. It's kind of like it's really cute. I think it's adorable. Basically what I was trying to create is a viewing area for this path that I have over on the side where the tortoises are, and you'll see that in a second. Oh, there goes another remote that I missed. So it's just kind of a spin click method. So you do the angle snaps and you just kind of spin it around to you snap, snap, and snap, snap, and then you just spin it until it clicks on each snap. Now this smaller dome, because of the way it sits, there's going to be slight gapping in between, but I actually end up using this dome as a shelter for the flamingos, so it's not really that big of a deal that there's some gapping in it. See, too small. But it's too cute for me just to toss out, so I actually end up saving it as a blueprint and I use it later on. But then, since I've already learned how to do this, I just hit the Control Z until we get back kind of to this position, and we just do it again. But this time you'll see how I kind of it's a slight freehand, but also still on the grid. And I basically measure it out and get the correct length this time around versus kind of not measuring. So yeah, this is me trying to decide whether I should do 3 or 4. And then when I realized the pathing is actually a 7 pathing, and it wouldn't quite fit if it was 3, and it would be a little bit too big if it was 4. So I kind of freehand it just a touch. But the cool thing is because it's right there, it's easy for me to get to. I'm just going to test it until I get the right measurement. And yeah, so this kind of goes into a faster process. And like I said, if you want to see this live action, just check out my stream. There's details where I'm talking to her and she's talking to me and she's giving me instructions on how to do it. Madly is very patient and is just an amazing friend. I was super happy that she was there to basically hold my hand. She was actually due to go on her own stream, and she stopped what she was doing to help me with this. So, I mean, that is a friend. When your friend will be like, oh, I'm supposed to stream right now, but you know what? I will help you through this mess, and then I'll go to my stream. That's friendship. That is someone you stick with, that you keep. She's a keeper. Alright, so once I had the measurements right, I just had to lengthen those poles a little bit, which is fine because they're doubled up anyway, and they're actually shortened to fit into that shorter length. And yeah, you're going to see me just kind of fiddle with it some. I always say think outside the box when you're creating these kinds of things. You can find your joy, you can find so much entertainment in things like this. This dome turns out so much better than I thought it was going to, because the measurement I end up with is like, it's perfect. The windows line up, everything clicks right into place. It's almost like it was meant to be, and it turns out, to me, I just think it's gorgeous. I think it's absolutely beautiful. I save it as a blueprint because I don't want to lose that work, and then, you know, I go and plop it over there, and I actually end up using it again in one of my other habitats, one of the wetlands habitats, which I hope to put out into the wide world here in a couple of days. I'm editing it right now. I got so jazzed over the Wetlands pack that I managed to basically record me putting together 4 habitats kind of back to back to back. It was crazy. It's absolute crazy. But I was just having so much fun. I could not stop creating and recording. Like, I was so inspired. I hope that something like this inspires you guys. But the Wetlands pack is, I think it's just a pack I've been waiting for. The abilities that the Wetland pack has given us is also something I was waiting for. And then I realized I was getting an error message and they couldn't reach this foraging pool. So to fix that, if you ever have a message saying they can't reach something and you realize it's kind of in the water, all you have to do is create a small walking path for them, which is great with those little flat rocks that you have in the game, and you just slide it in until it's kind of at a decent width for a keeper to walk across. Sometimes it's trial and error. You may have to try a few times to get the keepers to actually be able to walk across it, but once you've got that trial and error down, it's really easy. So this side, I thought about putting another dome on this side, and I was like, you know, that would be like dome overkill, because I already know I want to use one for basically their shelter. So instead of dome overkill, I was trying to think of a way to have a nice viewing spot, but I also wanted it to be kind of unique and hand done, so to speak. So I just take some plaster pieces and I'm fiddling around with it all right now, trying just to figure out how I want it to lay in my head. Obviously moving some rock work around, but you're going to see me, once I finish fiddling with the rock work, I grab this plaster piece and I slide over into a blank canvas spot, basically, which I highly recommend if you're having a hard time with creating something or making something. Slide over into an empty part of your zoo and kind of let that be basically your canvas. And I use this method when I'm building something new. I use this method when I'm creating like a sign or using the lettering to make something. So I just took the plaster over here and just started fiddling with it because I knew what I wanted. I kind of wanted like a tilted sunshade, but I didn't want to use the sunshades that came in the game. I kind of wanted to create my own, and I was thinking of those pergola you get, those little pergola porches you get, kind of, and I was like, that's my inspiration. So I just had to kind of copy paste this situation and also create like a nice bar, which if you're using angle snap, it makes it a lot easier. Freehanding can be a little crazy when it comes to that because it just sometimes just goes way past its mark. But if the trick to this is use angle snap, it is your friend. So if you use angle snap, you can kind of get everything into a straight line, into the set places, and then it's just pretty much a Control X to use the angle snaps to just slide it all over. It keeps it even, it keeps it in place, and then you have your template. And so you just basically pick everything up and put it into a scene, merge it into a scenery, slide it over to your place where you were planning on putting it, and then for this, I'm actually going to basically copy and paste the pieces. The only one that's a little funky is this first one, which at first I was like, oh, is that too weird? But you know what? It didn't bother me that much, and I thought if this was custom made, if they were trying to custom make a piece, this is kind of what it would end up looking like anyway. So I didn't let it bother me. I just adjusted these, and then I do eventually adjust the glasswork to match the poles that are there. Well, yep, you see me doing it right there. That's the awesome thing about these glass barriers. Well, any of the barriers, really. You can kind of just maneuver them around to match what you need. I mean, sometimes you might have to shorten them or lengthen them to match your needs, but it makes it super easy. And custom pieces like this just really... they kind of just bring a whole different aspect to your build, to what you're doing. I thought this was really neat. I liked it a lot. I hope you guys like it. If you guys ever need help or tips, or just want to talk through an idea with me, you can always find me on Twitch all the time. I'm there 5 days a week. I do not stream on Thursdays and Sundays, but all the rest of the time you can find me on Twitch. I'm there a lot. I am a full-time streamer on Twitch, but I do try to load videos pretty regularly on YouTube. I'm trying to get better at being much more regular. Yeah, so I decided I needed to lift the glass because I kind of wanted that nice, clean, view through this scenery. And then I didn't like these little grass patches that end up in the walkways, and I didn't know how else to, other than deleting and retrying and deleting and retrying. Sometimes you just have to give into the path and realize that you just don't want to fiddle with it anymore. And then you can cover it up with plants, you can cover it up with planters, you can cover it up with rock work. I chose to cover it up with tile because I figure it's kind of close enough to that restaurant we just built, which also has the mosaic tiles, and I thought, oh, this would kind of tie in that area with this area, and I just thought it would look nice. So I did some mosaic tiling and made it an area where I could place some benches. Well, not benches technically, it's kind of I guess they're park benches. Comes with the tables and everything. They really sit easy on these patched grass areas, and I think they look really nice in the mosaic. I think they just make them pop a little bit because it's the color with the other bright colors. I think it really just works, to be honest with you. This square wasn't perfect, so I just kind of fiddled with it and made it look good. Kind of like if you actually saw someone doing tile work and it was just a little off, I can see someone cutting it and just making it work. And it's so colorful, you don't really notice unless you're like counting the tiles or staring at it. I guess you could notice, but honestly, most of the time, most people who are just walking through the zoo aren't staring at the mosaics and counting them. So I think it's okay. And then I put some education for anybody who's viewing the flamingos from this area. And I made sure there was a nice speaker. I think I'm actually going to put an education person in here as well. I haven't put any education people anywhere in the zoo yet, and I kind of realized that the WetlandsPack has changed the way the education speakers work, and it's made me so excited to actually use them. I didn't use them previously because they always seemed a little bit funky to me. It's kind of like they would sort of be there at the habitats, but then they kind of wouldn't. And, you know, if they're hired to be there all year long, why aren't they educating people all year long? They've changed it to where the educators now walk around and educate people even when they're not scheduled to be at a location, which I think is an amazing addition. I haven't played with it yet. I'm just going off of what I read, so I am going to try playing with it and see if it kind of suits our fancy. Now that I'm thinking about it, I think I'm actually going to stick an educator thing up in that that little viewing gazebo that we created. Gazebo, there we go. That's the word I was going for. Gazebo, the little viewing gazebo that I created. I think that would probably be a really good place for an educator. Although I think educators have to be able to throw into the habitat, so that might cause an issue. I haven't used them often enough to remember. If that does cause an issue, I will just change locations and we'll figure it out. Maybe I'll build a little platform where the educator can stand or something like that. We'll figure it out. I'll take a look at it and see how it fiddles and how it works. I am excited about getting educators into the zoo if it works the way I think it's going to work from what I read. And then I love these toys for the flamingos. I just cannot stand the metal bar that it's on. I get it, you know, logistically it makes sense, but I've never been fond of it as a look. I really wish we could recolor it or paint it or do something with it. So I just paint it myself. I figured we had mosaic tiles, so Northern Africa, you know, posts and coloring would really make it pop. So I checked that and I really wasn't liking the white, so I decided to kind of check the colorings of the blue in the post and changed it into blue. This also inspired me to kind of change the decoration for the viewing area that we just created, like the little, like, I don't know if it's pergola or what viewing area we just created a second ago, but you'll notice that I actually popped some color in there too, which I think just really makes it pop. So I'm really happy I actually put that nice little fountain there. That fountain is the one thing that almost always drives me crazy when I put them in habitats, because I almost always feel like they're just breaking the view. But I think that the Northern Africa like colors and the beautiful like posts that we put in there doesn't detract from the look of the habitat, so it really has made me happy. So being able to change the coloration of the water, as well as like bubbles and mist and everything we can add to water now, is so just like next level that it's amazing. This exact footage was actually yanked from the stream that I did when I released, when I did my Wetlands pack. So technically this is the same stream where I actually did a different habitat, but we could not just leave the flamingos unfinished, so we had to add foliage, because foliage is kind of like that, the bow on the package. You just kind of have to put it in and make it look fabulous. So if you do not have the WetlandsPack yet, and I really highly recommend it. I think it's my favorite pack so far. I mean, yes, I'm a little biased. I have wanted platypuses since the day, I think it's platypi. I have wanted platypus in the game since its inception. Since we first got Planet Zoo, it was actually the first animal I looked for because I don't know why I'm obsessed with platypuses or platypi, but I completely am. Like 100%, I think they're the most adorable little creatures. So you're going to see them soon, trust me. They're one of my next habitats. But I'm so excited about platypus. And yes, I do name one of them Perry, for those of you who are wondering. Yeah, so this is just polishing off the flamingo and making it pop. I really hope you guys are liking what I'm doing, that you've liked my kind of final go at this habitat. I realize those rocks are the same, but I kind of merged them all together, hoping to make them look like one large slab versus multiple rocks. I think I accomplished my goal. I made it a little bit deeper because the flamingos could not fit under there. Polishing it off with a couple rocks down in the dirt, and there we go. That is our final look. The flamingos seem happy. I do have to do a little bit of sculpting to make it smooth, to make it look good, because all that water and rain and everything will definitely smooth out the terrain. I also toss in some pathing for the employees to go directly from this habitat straight to over here, because I don't like that path right there. I think I actually get rid of that path. And yep, there I am getting rid of it right now. I just felt like it was kind of unnecessary, and it limited us in our next habitat. And like I said, I am squeezing 3 more habitats right here in this big empty space that I created. Yeah, so here's our birds in all their glory. I think they look so thrilled, so happy to be here. I yanked all of these flamingos from one of my other franchise zoos, where we had a whole bunch of flamingos, and I hadn't played in that franchise zoo in a really long time. So I thought I would just bring the family into this zoo, where they could get some proper love and some proper attention. And we got little baby flamingos. They're so cute. Anyway, I hope you guys like this build. I cannot wait to show it off to you guys, and I hope you guys stay tuned for the Wetlands pack. I hope you guys liked it. Please subscribe. Thank you so much for coming. Ring that bell. All those really cool YouTube things, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.